Thanks very much, Sharon. And I'm going to talk about three things this morning. A little bit about where students will come from, and that's whether you're recruiting to study in the UK or whether you're looking at offshore or digital education. I'm going to talk a little bit about what they want from the experience and a little bit about how they expect to be marketed to, what's going to attract them in the future. So it's an obvious point to start with, but we did some research back in November with 1,500 students, and whilst the US and the UK remain the most popular international destinations, the conduct of the US presidential election and the Brexit vote last June have led to a significant decline in the numbers who say they would consider those two countries as destination. And then we see the data from Australia last year that across the board they had a 13% increase in international students at their universities. So that the challenge is very much out there to identify sources of international students. The second thing is what actually, in terms of experience, will these students want? I think this is a great extract from our website, and I'll show you which one it is in a moment. Mike mentioned lifelong learners. I tend to talk about lifestyle learners, those who want learning experiences that they can fit around their other commitments, whether that's work, whether it's family, whether it's something else, and also will help them gain the lifestyle they want. So here is a program: learn it on Monday in a digital classroom, back to work on the Tuesday, put it to work. An instant return on investment, if you like. This is from the Jack Welch Management Institute. So it's not only this instant return, it's this brand you're buying as well. It's not just the university, because very few, in fact, you probably can't even read which university it is. The Jack Welch Management Institute is at the Strayer University, I believe, which is not one that drops off everybody's lips very easily, but an enormous success in terms of driving online learning. And you think here, what's he got? The wrong slide? This is a guy called Trent Reznor, for those who don't have his band 9 Inch Nails on their iPads. But he's a famous musician, I'm told. At a conference a concert in Sydney a few years ago, he told the audience to steal his music. Why did he do that? Because he knew that they would download it illegal anyway. You know, it's a common activity amongst the generation who follow Trent Reznor. They had a new album out, so they put up an honesty box. You could pay $5. What he was actually doing was giving something away to get a bigger prize in the future. And here is a model perhaps for university education in the future. So a few months later, he released a limited edition of something like 5,000 CDs, but they were all priced at $300, and they sold out. So by giving away, he got a much bigger prize in the future. And perhaps they want something for nothing. We're back in Arizona here, at the W.P. Carey School of Business, who last year said every student coming on our full-time MBA program will get a full fee scholarship. So all you have to cover is your living expenses, on the premise that they would get much larger numbers, which they have done, and those much larger cohorts as alumni would give back to the institution. So again, giving something away to get a bigger prize potentially later on. So where are the students going to come from? Where are these people who are interested in these different types of offers? It's a little bit retro, perhaps some are too young to remember Telly Savalas in his heydays as Kojak. But look at the UNESCO data. We know where students come from to the UK traditionally. Yes, China and India will always remain important, but sticking with these countries is competing in markets that everybody knows about. So where are the other markets that might be important? Ernst & Young did a very good study back in 2013 about globally rising middle-class populations and identified these sort of 25 or so countries. Now you look at that in 2017 and you think, Ukraine, really? You know, times change very quickly, but the point about most of these countries is that they are good medium-term bets. They largely have large young populations, and many of them are mineral and resource rich. So in terms of future possibilities, middle-class populations are a good sign of where future international students will come from. But look a little bit more sideways. Aaron in his introduction talked about 6 to 12 months as being the short term. I would suggest that for the universities of Reading and the universities of Huddersfield, their time horizon should be 11 days. On the 29th of May, the championship playoff final takes place at Wembley, and Reading will play Huddersfield Town. It's said to be the richest game in football because promotion to the Premier League is worth over £100 million, it's said. It's not only worth to those football clubs, but to those communities. And if you look at this chart, well, that figure at the top, 700 million fans of the Premier League worldwide. The television audience, I've seen figures anywhere from 1.2 to 4 billion in a year. This is an enormous audience in terms of awareness. And if you have a university with a football club name, it's an enormous opportunity. Hull are going to lose out big time next year because they've just been relegated. So a really important message. And there's some real quirks in here if you dig into the data. For some reason, universities in the West Midlands are particularly popular in Norway. One of the most popular games, or two most popular games involved in Norway, watched on television, were Aston Villa and West Brom. I suspect because it's to do with football players from those countries or managers from those countries. I'm afraid Norway isn't a big audience in terms of future international recruitment. But dig into the data, and there's some really interesting nuggets there. Then I have this list. Excuse me. You'll be thinking, hey, really gone off course now. How do you get to this list of countries? And China is there at number 20, Cambodia number 1. What could possibly unite these countries in terms of potential targets for international student recruitment? These are the countries that in 2013-14 had the highest rate, highest increase in champagne imports. And again, champagne imports are a leading indicator of a growing middle-class population. There's a great article in the Financial Times that said if you're a Nigerian, you go out to a nightclub, the best thing to do is to park your Ferrari in front of the nightclub. Of course, not many can afford the Ferrari. The second best thing is to have a bottle of champagne on your table in the nightclub to show your status. And so if you're looking a little bit more widely, if you're looking, dare I say, left field, there are some interesting indicators as to where future international student populations might come from. But then how do students want to be marketed to? They want to be part of the conversation. It's not a one-way process nowadays. These are photos from the inauguration of the two most recent popes. You see in 2005, if you look very carefully, there are 2 mobile phones. 2013, it's difficult to see the person who doesn't have a mobile device. They are setting the agenda as much as you are. They're certainly determining the content of the conversation. And I was slightly appalled, I think is probably the word. I was at a university, a Russell Group university yesterday, that said they have one person 3 days a week for social media. It's terrifying, absolutely terrifying, to think that there's no strategic plan behind their use of these tools, that there's no thinking about the content that's available, there's no interaction potentially with the thousands of students and alumni that are using social media every day. It's just frightening. Social is very much the new normal. We did a piece of research with LinkedIn, and I'll share last year, and I'll share some of the data. The point about it, it's throughout the life cycle. It's not just when students come in, it's not when they're just learning, it's not when they're just alumni, it's right throughout the life cycle of a potential student. 2 out of 3 schools in the study told us that they agree that applicants agree with them on social media. So to not be involved and engaged there is missing out on an enormous audience. 71% say they use social for admissions, 98% for careers. Absolutely key to the future operation of higher education. Our own research, this is a generation that began with Bebo and MySpace, then moved on to Facebook, now on LinkedIn, and a multitude of other social platforms around the world. Of course, they're using it to post information for their friends. They're using it for social groups. But interestingly, 43% are now using social media for their studies, collaborating across campus, across the world, across institutions. Some really good examples of what's going on out there. These are just a few examples from a school in the US. Belk College is part of the University of North Carolina. The point about KISS, the headline on this slide, keep it simple, stupid. Something I was taught a long while ago as a presenter. And little things, photos of the campus. Really easy to do, but turn it into a competition, engage people. An MBA open evening, you can't come, you can still access it. There's a Twitter chat, you can see the questions being asked. Welcome. you're here. Here are the materials you get. Somebody's tweeted about the welcome pack they got from the institution. They're delighted to become a student. Simple things that will get retweeted, that will engage people in the conversation. But if you're not out there, then this is what happens. So this is a Malaysian student 4 years ago. He wants the cheapest AACSB business school. It's an American accreditation. In the UK, torn between the UK and Australia. Hate the UK weather, like fees. Hate Australia, fees, like the weather. 2 minutes later, he tweets again. Go University of Liverpool, will be fun, but location weather is like shit, I hear, even during summer. Oh, I hope I'm not offending anybody in the room, but he's not entirely wrong. The problem is, if that's what people are making decisions on, then you've lost it. You've lost the opportunity. The converse, though, is not also true. So when I showed this at the University of Portsmouth, they said, that's fantastic. We have the second highest sunshine total of any city in the UK. I said, it's going to take a little bit more than that to bring them in the doors. But there is something in this. How are they going to get these messages? 2010, our research said just 4% used their smartphone as the main tool for going online. 2015, it was 61%. Go to parts of Africa, go to parts of Asia, it will be 80 or 90%. If you don't have a responsive website, you're missing out on a potential audience. At least a third of the business school students we speak to begin their search on their smartphone. And if your site's not up to scratch, you'll move on to the next one. It's not quite Tinder-like where they're swiping left or right, but it's not far off that. So what can you do? Great example on the Rotterdam School of Management website in the Netherlands. So they have program pages, and the program pages is a tab that says career. You scroll down to the bottom, and here are all these little passport-sized photos. You wonder what's going on. And you roll over them, and they're links to the LinkedIn profiles of graduates of that program. So as a potential student, you say, oh, I was a bit like that person before they did the program. I'm thinking of doing this program. I'd really like to do the job that they have today. You know, an authentic validation of all of the marketing speak delivered by somebody who you can then go and get in touch with and ask questions to. Cutting out the university to a great extent, but providing you with somebody you feel connected to. Really important in terms of marketing, and almost zero cost. What can schools do in terms of using social media? As I said, engaging the applicants, connecting them with their current students or alumni, informing them about the application process. Surprisingly, teach social media networking skills. Yes, students may have accounts, but how well do they use those accounts? Provide training on building a personal brand. What is it you want to say to a potential employer? And developing a strong social media profile. Just a few more slides. There are other audiences. Yeah, what I've talked about is largely undergraduate, postgraduate audience. PhDs, executives, corporates. We're back to Rotterdam again. They did some research with corporates. They asked them how many read their research papers. And most of them said, what research papers? And there was a joke going around that only 5 people ever read a research paper. The person who wrote it, the 2 PhDs who helped them to write it, the person who reviewed it, and the mother of the person who wrote it. So Rotterdam started putting their key research on video, 3 to 4 minute videos. Typically they now get 600 to 800 views per video, and the engagement with the corporate marketplace has accelerated enormously. And then there are alumni. So this is, or was, they've changed it recently, this is the homepage of the SP Jain Global Management Institute, originally out of Mumbai, now with campuses in Dubai, Singapore and Sydney. And they very cleverly leverage their alumni. So international locations, big brands, if you come and study here, these are the opportunities that you'll have. Very simple. The thing they missed out was a little connection to a bit of backstory, but at least yeah, you had this rotation, and in 20 images you've got a sense of the sort of people who studied there. Another example, Tuck in the US. Tuck are the premier fundraisers from their alumni. They always top the Bloomberg biannual survey. The point about it, again here, is they get the point, it's actually not about the institution. It's about their alumni. So you've got the cheesy wedding photos, the baby photos, the fun run photos. They understand it's about engaging their alumni in the conversation. In fact, they're that smart, they also have on their giving page this. It's a social enterprise in Nicaragua, a coffee producing company. And they say give to them, because that's important to us as an institution. So they're reinforcing positive messages about the brand, and they're confident enough that their alumni will not only give here, they'll probably give to the institution as well. So it's about developing that brand story as much as it is about promoting certain people to come and do certain things at the institution. And I'm just going to end with these two images. First of all, Robin Hood. We were doing some work with Nottingham-Trent University back in, wasn't the last election, it was the one before that, so 2010. And Ridley Scott had just released his new Robin Hood movie. The Vice-Chancellor at Nottingham-Trent University banned any mention of the words Robin Hood on their university website. Big, big, big mistake. Universal Pictures, Sony, whoever it was, would have been spending tens of millions of dollars worldwide promoting this new film. Anytime somebody searched on Google for the words Robin Hood, they could also have got Nottingham-Trent University. Even smarter, because it was the time of the general election, would have been to get a business professor to do a short blog on tax policies of the main political parties and wealth redistribution in the Middle Ages. Would have gone viral, and it had got enormous coverage and brand awareness. And then 50 Shades of Grey. Now, really may be thinking, what's he going to say here? Washington State University, Vancouver is mentioned in the first 10 pages. One of the central characters, I'm told, studies English at the university. I'd never heard of Washington State University, Vancouver. I suspect most of the world had never heard about Washington State University, Vancouver. I was going to say they celebrate the book. I think that's probably going a little bit too far. But they have a page on their website that makes the connection and explains all about the university, its connection to the book, about other places in and around Seattle. The first book, I believe, has sold 60 million copies worldwide. In total, the series has sold over 100 million. There have been 2 films, there's a third in production. No doubt there'll be a fourth when they run out of those. You don't, the goose that's laid the golden egg, you don't stop doing that. It only needs a tiny fraction of 1% of the people who read the book, who've gone onto the website, to say, I quite fancy studying at Washington State University, to make it all worthwhile and to make that brand connection, that deeper connection, relevant to future students. So I suppose my message overall is there are many ways to crack a nut, whether that's where you find the students, the experience you give them, or the way that you engage them. But do get out there and do engage them and make sure it's social, because otherwise you're missing out. Thank you, Aaron.